is an international award-winning cybersecurity expert and ethical hacker known for his catchy online videos, numerous television appearances, live public speaking events, extensive coaching products, and top-level consulting services. Over the past 20 years, he's advised some of Canada's largest companies on how to prevent and remedy internal and external security penetration. For the general public, he developed an effective online learning program called Internet Safety University. With over 24,000 students from over 150 countries, he's helped educate his pupils on cybercrime, spying, security failures, internet scams, and the real social networking dangers that families and individuals face every day. Terry was named IFSEC Global's top 20 most influential people in cybersecurity for 2018 and again in 2019, and was also awarded 2017 Cybersecurity Educator of the Year award. Please welcome your host, Terry Cutler.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope you're doing well. There's been some more breaches happening now, so our call volume went up again. And welcome to the show where we're going to answer some live questions. We'll talk about some of the questions that came in from yesterday and some leftover stuff. So let me bring Sabina to the stage.
Hi, everyone.
How are you, Sabina?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Any better? And I couldn't handle it. No,
Thank you for having me today.
Great. So yeah, so we got some more feedback from yesterday that people are enjoying the Q&A, and a bunch more questions came in yesterday.
Yes, I had some more questions on my site too.
Nice.
So whenever you wanna answer yours, just give me a sign, and I'm gonna start with my first question that I received yesterday.
Sure.
Someone said, what is the worst vulnerability any business or individual can ever have in their system, in your opinion? I guess they mean the most dangerous one.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. So I was writing some notes down to make sure I don't forget them. The biggest problem is around credential leakage. They don't realize that a lot of people, when they create their online accounts with, Amazon or Facebook and such, they're reusing the same passwords everywhere. And what's happening is that there's a data breach that occurs, and a famous one from a real estate company, and somebody registered an account with that real estate company using the same email as the company, and it just so happened in one real case, the administrator password was the same as what they used, and hackers got into the account and accessed his inbox, accessed the login credentials, and was able to get into the company, which turned into a business email compromise. So we had to go in and investigate what happened and such, So
all the information went public.
Correct. Okay. Correct. It did. And the other issue is also around insider threats. So a lot of folks, yes, they trust their employees, but sometimes employees go rogue and they start accessing stuff on the network that they weren't supposed to have accessed, or they copy it to a USB key and either send it to somebody else, or they leave the company and steal the secrets with them.
Yeah. So what happens if it ever happens? Actually, the situation, if it ever happens to any business, how can you get back these information, and how can you prevent that it goes on the dark web?
Well, that's an expensive exercise. So what happens here is that we worked on a bunch of cases where there was an employee that stole information when they left the company. When we receive the laptop, we have to do an analysis on it to see what devices were plugged into it and see what was copied to it. So it requires lawyers, and a good private investigation firm to help with these types of. It's called a search and seizure order. It's where we go to the person's house, possibly take the equipment, analyze it to make sure that that nothing was stolen, and it can go to court. But some of these things get very, very expensive.
Yeah. So do you do anything about that on your side? Do you have any audit that can help for people who got attacked in that way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So actually, folks right now can go on. That's a good comment. Let me post something for the people right now. If you want to know if your information has leaked onto the dark web, let me just show you where you can go. Right. So if you go to this website, psyologylab.com/dark web, you'll be able to fill in your information about your company and your company email. At that point, once I receive that request, we'll run a dark web scan quickly against what was leaked against your company, credential wise. And then we could provide the report to you, have a discussion, and maybe you need employee training or you need dark web monitoring where we can continuously monitor to see if your credentials leak in near real time. So that's one of the services that we can definitely offer for those folks to see that. I mean, the other issue too, with when we run a what we call the report card audit, which is a very, very inexpensive audit, and it looks for all of the low-hanging misconfiguration that's happening in your company. Things like patch management issues, people that don't have maybe have too much access turned on. Maybe your firewall isn't blocking all of the content. So can your computers visit porn sites, entertainment sites, shareware sites? We'll be able to see if that all gets blocked. So there's a bunch of stuff that we can definitely offer for sure.
Okay, good. So I think that answers the question for the person. Can I move on the other question for now, or do you want to go with your questions?
Let's see. There's a comment. Unfortunately, all cybersecurity fails. So the real company focus needs to be on mitigation and post-incident recovery, employee trauma recovery. Yeah, absolutely. Every time there's a data breach that occurs, obviously, the end users or the consumers can't be stuck with credit monitoring all their life. Okay, it makes no sense. And unfortunately, when they get hit with a scam, it's really in their hands to clean up their own mess, and they don't know how to get out of that. So, Marius says, do you consider face recognition technology mature enough to be also used for payments? I use that payment stuff if I'm doing online banking or such. PayPal. What criteria should fulfill such as technology? I haven't dabbled enough in those types of technologies. I use mostly the stuff that's built into my iPhone. I have worked with technology here with companies here in Montreal that do advanced fingerprint scanning or facial scanning. That's more military grade, but I haven't played enough with this, unfortunately. Sorry, Marius. Maybe we can have an offline discussion about that.
Okay, I got a question.
Go ahead.
I'm a business owner and I checked your audits, but I don't have a lot of employees and I don't think it's necessary to invest in cybersecurity, especially that I'm not an essential organization.
Okay, so that's a really great question. I hear that comment all the time. So the cyber criminals know that you as a small business don't have the time, money, or resources to take care of cybersecurity. So what's going to happen is they're going to ransomware you. It's all about financial now. They're going to ransomware you and your data. And at this point, it's either you're going to pay that bill or you're going to lose your business. And that's why most small businesses are going to fold within 6 months of a cyber attack because they can't afford to pay that bill. They're going to get hit with a ransom of minimum $100,000. And if you're a small business, a lot of times you can't pay for that. And and then what happens usually is these ransomwares are designed to attack your backups. So if your backups are connected to the network, your backups will be encrypted as well. They're going to do everything they can that you pay that bill. That's why you have to start looking at things like cyber insurance. Your companies have that, or EDR technology, endpoint detection and response.
Yeah, talking about essential organization, I have a question. I know that you worked with many essential organizations as well as hospitals and everything. What would you recommend for these organizations to start with to prevent a potential hack?
Again, they need to have EDR technology put on, which is more advanced than your traditional antivirus technology. Because with these antivirus technologies, they are they're like signature-based technologies. It's where every couple of hours they're going to go and update themselves and get the latest database. But if a virus comes in within that time frame that the system doesn't know about, it's going to come through and say, "Well, I don't know what this is. Let it through," and then eventually it'll compromise the company. So this is where analytical technology is going to come into play, like CrowdStrike. So we're a partner of CrowdStrike. We do a lot of IRs and stuff, and we deploy this technology because that's the one we trust. And this thing is very, very good at blocking ransomwares and actually quarantining the computers the moment that it suspects something's happening.
Okay. Okay, so I have another question talking about like prevention. Someone said, in your opinion, what is the best antivirus, and is it enough for me as a small business owner who works alone to have a strong antivirus?
That's exactly what I just mentioned. So the antivirus stuff is becoming less and less effective. You're gonna have to start looking at more advanced technologies. But the problem is that it's extremely expensive. Actually, let me rephrase that. It sounds expensive, but the moment you experience a data breach, this is not expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you're a consumer, there's some technologies you can look at, obviously, like Kaspersky Total Security. Okay, that would be one you can get for the consumer edge. But when you start looking at corporate, there's the CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, Carbon Black. Those are all EDR technologies that you should be looking at to keep your business safe, especially now with remote workers. What's great about this is because they're all cloud-based solutions. I'm talking mostly about CrowdStrike, let's say. The agents are deployed on all the computers, and they're all working from home and such, and it doesn't matter where they are. The moment that attacks start happening on it, all the alerts are going to a centralized location for the administrators to look at, and the machine will get kicked off the network once it becomes infected or something.
Yeah.
So my buddy Luke, man, how are you? Do you agree that the best way to prevent ransomware attacks is training your employees? Oh, absolutely. Yes. So obviously users are pretty much the number one reason why ransomwares are getting in. And when I say users, it doesn't have to be only the unwitting, non-technical employee. This can happen to administrators too. They wake up one morning, didn't have their coffee, they clicked on a link they weren't supposed to. And now with the new tactics, they don't even realize that they've been infected because they have no internal detection in their companies to let them know that there's a compromise happening at the moment. So that's why awareness training is very, very important. In fact, when I spoke about the dark web monitoring piece earlier, there's another component that we can add on to that, which allows for the phishing and training simulators. So we get to see, we get to fish your employees, and as they're interacting with our stuff, we get to see who likes to click on stuff. The clicky people, we'll call them. And that's from there you can, as an organization, you can decide if these people need advanced disciplining or, there's even companies that say, hey, if you failed this test 3 times, you're fired, because that'll put the company at risk. It'll bankrupt the company, possibly.
That's a good way to make a test for people before they start working with the company, because I know that some people are not advanced in their technology, like habits. Yep. I can say that. So
yep. So Vincent says, actually, I want to address something from yesterday. So when Vincent asked a question about the YubiKey, I had drawn a blank. I'm like, oh, YubiKey, what was that again? And I called it a password manager, which is far from what it is. So it's basically this. It's like a USB device you'd plug into your computer, and all access and credentials and authentication will be done through the key. So fingerprint, everything. So whenever you need to log in or whatever, that key has to be present in order for you to access whatever you're going to be accessing. And it's very, very secure, and highly recommend. But I haven't had a chance to really deep dive into that product. Okay. So Vincent says cyber insurance is doing some major shifts because they can't afford all the claims. Companies fall into the trap where it will protect it. If they find out that you didn't do the minimum security, your systems. Okay, so I agree with Vincent. Unfortunately, I saw something that was so unbelievably drastic that they still paid the damn bill, and I'm so surprised. Okay, I'm going to tell you this story. So the future of cyber insurance is going to be moving towards, if you don't have EDR at a minimum in your company, we're not even going to insure you. Forget it, because some of these claims, we're seeing these claims for like $300,000 to $1 million in damage. People don't believe me when they see these numbers. It's really starts at $300,000 to help you get back up and running. So I saw a company that is in the insurance business. They're these guys sell insurance. And what happened was one of their employees clicked on a link they weren't supposed to, and a virus got in and infected all of their Outlook address book. And what happened is it sent out, they had 6,000 people in their list. It sent an email out to 6,000 people with an infected PDF attachment. And it was zipped, it was encrypted, so that the antivirus and spam filters wouldn't pick it up. And it had the password in it. So it could say like, hey, Sabina, here's the quote you requested. Here's the password to unlock it. And you, as a business owner or something like that, you'd receive this email from a vendor you already know about. You'll open it. And the moment you open up the attachment, your Outlook becomes infected and you send out to all of your contacts. But now you've also got infected. So you can come back and say, hey, you know what? It's costing me thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to clean this up. Terry, I'm going to sue you for this. So all these lawsuits started happening to this insurance firm. And we found out that this guy spends less than $100 a year on cybersecurity, $100. So he was getting the free AVG, the free, like, when you register for a domain, you can get the free cheapo inbox.
So he was basically lying to his own clients.
Oh yeah,
offers so much for.
It was shit. Well, I'll be clear, it was shit. And on top of it, and this is what really freaked me out, this guy was so cheap. This guy went on to BitTorrent. He had BitTorrent running on one of his computers. He downloaded Avast antivirus, which was backdoored, and he installed it in his company. And you know what? The insurance company still paid the bill. $85,000 bill. They still paid it.
That was bad.
So I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go with yours. What would you tell to people who want to be your clients but still find that your prices are too low for what are the other companies charge? What do you say to these people? Like they basically all they feel like is this real? Is this?
Yeah, that's a great point. I started hearing this more and more. So the main comment I get from a lot of potential clients is like, Terry, I don't understand something. You get all these accolades, you have all these things going, but yet you're like half the price of the other people. And a lot of that is my fault because I'm not there to price gouge customers, right? I want to make sure that we come in with a very inexpensive and affordable offer, and then gradually work with the customer to increase budgets and things like that. So a lot of folks, they don't want to spend $10,000, $15,000 on a penetration test, for example, where I can come in with a least expensive offer and it'll actually provide maybe even more value than a pen test. But now it's opened the door for me to work on other stuff, which eventually could become more expensive than a pen test, but at least I build trust and value with the customer through the value ladder.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
thank you.
But I can tell you though, because of my personal brand, I have won deals where I'm $11,000 more expensive than the other guy.
Okay.
So that's already happening.
Okay.
So, hey Simon, what's up? How do you convince a company or CEO that have not been attacked to invest in cybersecurity? That's a fantastic point. So one of the ways I've been doing this is through the dark web monitoring component. What I do is I run a rapid audit and come back with the customer and say, you know what, I found 83 exposed credentials. We need to have a chat. And once I provided him the report, they start freaking out and like, wait a minute, how, this is my password. And then from there I can say, well, when was your last audit? And they'll say, never. And then it's like, oh no. And then from there we can run a little audit to show if there's been a lot of failed logins in their environment, find out where their weaknesses are, and then build the trust, and then go from there. Great question, Simon. Let's see. Which books do you recommend to understand the methods to stay safe from internet threats? This book right here. Start with this. So this is the Insider Secrets to Internet Safety, Advice from a Professional Hacker. So what's happened in this book is that I've provided all the tips and tricks for a non-technical person to protect themselves online. So start with the two-factor authentication stuff, the strong passwords, check your patch management. In the free video series, which I'll put the link up here while we're at it. So in this free video series here at internetsafetyuniversity.com, I believe it's in video 2. It's going to show you how to know if you've been hacked in 4 minutes. So there's going to be a really cool tool that I'll demonstrate called Glasswire, which will show you the traffic leaving and coming into your computer, and from there we'll start analyzing if there's any malicious traffic happening and such.
And there's also your YouTube videos that people can check out, because
correct,
you always do podcasts and answer many questions other than
Yeah, so I'm a contributor for IT World Canada. So every 2 weeks, we talk about the latest threats, what people can do to protect themselves. But yeah, if you head over to terrycutler.com, at the top is all the social media channels, and you'll be able to see a lot of stuff from there.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like if anybody needs to have a quick consultation with me, you can have access to our calendar over at psyologylabs.com/calendar, and one of our psychologists will schedule a call with you to discuss your needs, or at least at the very least you'll get a free education.
Exactly. So I have another question on my side. Someone said, can you tell me what are the steps to do after that I get hacked, and who am I supposed to reach?
Okay, so if you actually have a data breach, you need to talk to your lawyers right away, because the lawyers and the law firm will provide a breach coach. And in the breach coach and the law firm will bring an incident response firm like ours in to discuss what may have happened. So is it a business email compromise? Is it basically an inbox that got compromised? Is there a ransomware? Because we need to find out for the insurance firm how this got in. So we could provide a report, so this way they can pay the coverage. So you need to start with that. We'll speak with your law firm. Have an incident plan in place. There has to be a plan where you have kind of like a to-do list. If a breach occurs, who do you contact first? Speak with your internal IT department. What kind of ransomware is this? How many devices got infected? There has to be a communication channel, a procedure of what to go through.
There's always a question about, do I have to contact the police, because what can they do about that, and what would you answer that?
Okay, so that question is twofold. Yes, you should report it to the police, because if it is a ransomware, it is extortion.
Mm-hmm.
But keep in mind that the police will not be able to help you. Okay, so they are overwhelmed. They're too busy with killers and murderers and stuff. Mm-hmm. They don't have time to take care of your case, nor do they have the expertise, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Unless it's a significant crime, like millions of dollars, they won't have the time to look into it. So yeah, they should definitely call the police, but don't expect help.
Okay. I think that answered the question. Natasha said, where do you find most information about companies, and do you have any tips for organizations that have no choice other than putting their info on the internet?
Okay, I think we touched on this yesterday or the day before. A lot of the information you post online is used to do business, but unfortunately, a lot of that could be used for cyber criminals. For example, let's say, like in a real case, you put out a job posting for an IT guy that you're looking for. But in the job description, you're going to say, okay, well, you need to be fluent in Windows Server 2012, Active Directory. You need to know about these types of other softwares, which is great. But at the same time, now you've just told the cyber criminals what's running in your company. And you have to put that, because if you don't, you're going to get anybody applying to this thing. You're going to get like 2,000, resumes showing up. But here's the other challenge too, is that the HR department will be receiving all of these Word documents or PDFs. But what happens if those files are infected? Right? One of those files could be weaponized, and they just open up that attachment, and now they've infected the company.
Yeah. So what would you recommend?
They
for
need to have EDR, definitely endpoint detection and response, guaranteed, yeah, for sure.
And I think I would answer this question by saying lots of information that an organization has, like that share a lot of information about the company, is when you post a job, when you need someone to, when you're hiring someone, and the job posting has lots of information
Yeah.
about the company. So I feel like they have to be more careful about that,
Yeah.
especially nowadays.
It's hard. It's hard because it's like, how do you know, how can you be careful with that? Because if you're not specific enough, you're not going to find the right candidate. And if you are specific, you're telling the other bad guys what's running in their company.
Yeah,
So that's the
very-
hardest part.
exactly.
Any other questions come in?
Not anymore. Not for me.
Check here. Perfect. Then we can finish early and get back to work.
Thank you.
And you can get back to work.
Thank you for this educating live today. And I feel like lots of people are appreciating these lives. I feel like we asked more questions. I received more questions on my side too. And yeah, thank you so much, Terry.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again this week.
Bye.